The PGA Championship gets underway Thursday. We got a Uinta Golf major giveaway underway. Be caller 12 right now at 801-575-ZONE, and you'll be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship field this week. If your assigned golfer wins, you'll win the same brand of driver they play. It's brought to you by Uinta Golf, simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971.
Nice. You've been around that long, huh? Impressive.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. And there is a stunning headline out there. Great Osobor, former Utah State Aggie, former Montana State Bobcat, is getting $2 million in NIL to go to Washington. And before you think Washington's out of their mind, they just wrecked the market. Louisville and Texas Tech were also in the final round, so apparently the market for Osobor really was in that $1.5 million, $2 million range, and Washington topped out at $2 million and got him. PK. It was just a couple of years ago, it seemed outrageous that you had to have $2.5 million in NIL money to put together an at-large NCAA basketball team, to get an at-large berth in the NCAA tournament. And now one player gets $2 million, and three schools, if they're not bidding that number, they're at least in that neighborhood. Maybe they came up 10 or 20% short, but they were in that neighborhood to draw it out. Welcome to the new world order. This is accelerating and quickly. Pony up the cash, or you're on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Sprinkle, I was looking at his contract. He's going to make $3 million. Osobor's going to make $2 million. And Sprinkle was making $900,000 at Utah State. So now one player commands double the money that Mountain West is paying coaches.
Well,
Awesome.
and then they got to figure out who's popping when they go out for dinner.
Hey, I'm making 3, you're making 2. We're Dutch on this. I'm not buying anymore. Just splitting this tab.
Talk about winning before you even scored a bucket. Jeez, man.
Did they budget wisely? Did they save enough money to put some good players around him?
I don't know what the money total is, so it's hard to say.
Right.
But I don't think that they're going to be good next year.
I get your point. Did they just spend all that money on him just to make sure they're not bad? Hey, we had to do something because Sprinkle doesn't want to go in there and finish 16th in an 18-team league.
Yeah, I mean, they're not supposedly paying, so what difference does it make to them? And then it sends a message going forward. Maybe the message is bigger than the actual production in terms of the overall team that, hey, this is our first year. Look what we gave this guy. We're going to build something here. We've got the resources now. And they're not getting Big Ten money compared to the other Big Tens.
No, they went in for the half share.
I mean, everyone was desperate at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You're all jumping around and trying to land in a place where you could be competitive. So we'll see what happens there, because they're basically getting what the 4 that are going in the Big 12 are getting, right?
Yeah, they're in that ballpark.
Yeah.
Because they're getting the half share.
Right.
And UCLA got the full share, but they have to give $10 million of it to Cal, so essentially they're not at a full share. USC is.
Yeah.
This is $2 million is just off the charts there are plenty of stories about guys making a move for $250,000. 8 times that for Osobor. Are you going to just dominate college basketball?
I don't think he is. No. He's a nice player. He's sort of a throwback with the power game, the power forward. But as Steve Cleveland said, is the guy even going to get drafted?
You would think not.
I mean, but he still has time, so I'm not going to rule it out.
But the fact that he's playing a 4th year of college basketball, most of the guys who get drafted are out after 1 or 2 years. There's just an odd handful of juniors and seniors who get drafted. It does happen.
Yeah, but I mean, his is an interesting situation, off the radar.
Yep.
As a foreign guy going to Big Sky, so maybe and let's give the kid time to develop. Maybe he has another level he can get to this season. So I'm not going to rule him out, but who cares about that? That's in the past. I mean, in the future. For now, he's going to get that kind of dough. You just wonder, where can it go? Where is this going to go? It's sort of scary in terms of there's got to be some leveling off. Is it going to be like the pros when Magic Johnson signs $1 million deal. Oh my gosh, it was a big deal.
He needed to
blah, blah, blah,
renegotiate it 5 or 6 years later because it was 25 years for $25 million. That's outrageous. And then 5 or 6 years later, well, there's a lot of guys making $2 million, and Magic's better than all of them.
Yeah.
So he got a new deal.
So we wondered where that was going to go, and now we know, guys, $40, $50 million, it's going as far as it can go, and it's not going to stop. Is that what we're going to have in college? So we're going to, in 2035, we're going to look back, $2 million. And we made a big deal about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be dead, so I won't be worried about it. So you wonder on that, Yak Jr., his kids.
Yak, morning show host Yak Hatch, and his producer, Yak Jr.
Family, keep it in the family, got it.
Yeah. Nepo producer, Yak Jr.
That's what happens to money. So from that perspective, where's this going to end? What's it going to be? I'm wondering, are there going to be universities that just say, we're out? We'll do the sports, but we're just not going to go at that
They're
level.
absolutely going to be some.
They're already there, aren't they?
No, I don't think they are.
Really? You don't think that's what the Big Sky, the WAC, and the Big West are?
No, I don't think they have any choice. That's what they are.
But they didn't opt for it.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
They're not
somebody
actually
who's
saying
in now who's going to opt out.
Right.
As opposed to somebody who's already on the fringe, like my beloved Gauchos and your beloved Lumberjacks.
I mean, it's nice that they have it.
Right.
The kids go.
The kids
and
from the dorm walk over.
Some of the players on the team.
Yeah.
You go to class with them, and it's just sort of folksy high schoolish. And that's what they are.
Right.
And that's fine, and they're comfortable being that.
But are there big money schools that are going to say enough is enough?
Right.
The way the Ivy League did at one point.
You wonder what.
And the service
what
academies
BYU,
at one
because
point.
BYU is really caught up in image. And what are they going to do?
At some point, they're going to say, no, we're not doing this.
This is too much.
Yeah, we're out.
Yeah. We liked it better when we played at noon and the winner went to the Holiday Bowl. That was pretty good.
It was good.
And that's good enough.
But times have changed.
Dramatically. Yeah. If it keeps going, when does it get out of control? And to me, at the point where they no longer are required to make any form of academic progress, then it really gets silly.
Kyle has said that's coming. That if you want to go to school, you can, and if you don't want to go to school, you don't.
That gets really silly.
They're all just tired guns.
That seems like a little bit of a line in the sand. And I recognize to an extent they already are when we've got Devon Vele coming on and saying, well, I couldn't really major what I wanted to because football takes too much time. Right. So I had to major in this.
Right. He wanted to be an engineering major and he wants to run his own construction company.
Right. And
all laudable goals, but they just don't fit the time.
Didn't mesh.
They don't fit the time commitment for football.
Right.
There's not want hours in the day.
Right. And the great thing about Devon Vele is he was always honest.
Yeah.
About what was going on.
I don't want to play football with 18-year-olds. I'm going to the NFL.
Yeah. And so if you get to the point where you don't even have to do anything, I don't know that I'll ever check out, but in terms of fandom and rooting for the college team and all, man, I've lost a lot of that. Still fun to have the games, grateful to have the job.
Well, Stanford and Cal check out. That's the kind of school it would take.
At the high level.
Before our times, back in the dark ages, the University of Chicago was a power. And I think they were a founding member of the Big Ten.
Chicago Maroons, yep.
And they checked out of sports, and they're still in whatever the Big Ten academic thing is.
Yeah. They're in the AAU.
But that's PK's point. That's a school that legitimately said, we're an elite academic school, and the sports thing is out of control. Now, they decided that, I think, in like 1930 or something.
You know what their football stadium became, right?
No.
The testing ground for the Manhattan Project underneath their football stadium.
I think the service academies are doing it.
Right.
I think Air Force has had opportunities, and they've said no.
No.
This is who we are. This is what we do.
We'll stay in the Mountain West. We're not going to the Big 12.
The other issue with the service academies is that their players are contracted federally, and they cannot legally make NIL.
Right, and the idea being is that, we're going to set you up for 40 years.
Correct. That's a different
You're going to go here.
job.
You're going to go into the military as officers, blah, 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 and you're going to
do your 20 and retire.
If that's what you want, or stay longer or get out, whatever. Yeah, so you know what you're getting into there, and so they've been able with the option to have some form of competitiveness. The other sports and basketball, they had a little bit run on Joe Scott and David Robinson.
Right.
Not really.
One-offs.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So they've done it, and that's why they're universally respected. It's the one place, I'd covered many games there, where in football the opposing team goes over to their and stands with them, because there's that level of respect there that these guys are not in it just to win ball games. The mission is far greater, obviously. So we all respect that. I've said this. I watch Army Navy as sort of a patriotic duty, and I'm in awe of the young people as they march into the stadium.
I wonder if there will be a second tier of college football, and there's been talk about, at the breakaway P2, if that second tier of college football will look more traditional. And there's been talk if Stanford and I still think Stanford has a chance to get into the Big Ten. Maybe Cal does. I'm not convinced of that, but maybe they do. But there's been talk that like Stanford, Cal, Northwestern, Rice, Duke, Vanderbilt,
ASU
could build. I think they're going to the Big Ten. Could build.
No, we don't want that.
I think you
unsavory.
do. I think you do, and you will.
Unsavory.
I have a hard time.
That's not our mission.
I have a hard time visualizing a 24 team or bigger, 28 or 32, I guess. Big Ten that doesn't have ASU in it.
Let the University of Northern Mexico go. They try to win at all costs. I mean, come on. It's not what we do. We have standards.
And whether they can exist in that second tier, and that will look something like traditional college football. And what we're talking about here with the $2 million NIL, that'll be the top tier of 18 to 22-year-olds, but it won't really look like college sports as we knew it. And will anyone care about a second tier? Is there enough hours in the day and enough eyeballs on TV?
Well, I don't know about that. I think they will because I think they will because TV loves live sports. And guys like us
watch live sports.
We're freaking junkies watching San Jose and Fresno at 11:30 at night on a Saturday.
Let's hear it for the CBS Sports Network.
If the Pac-12 game is gone.
Yeah.
And now we'll see what the configuration will be Big 12, which I assume, we're flicking back and forth at 11:30 at night on a Saturday, and we've already watched 10 hours.
Well, and in the 5 to 10 years it takes for this to evolve, I assume more things are going to go streaming. I mean, we're hearing about this NBA TV deal. There's going to be at least one streaming package, maybe two. At that point, we won't be limited by networks. Games all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I play with a guy in golf. He doesn't have TV. All he does is stream.
Right.
He'll come in. Oh, I saw this documentary. Oh, yeah? What about the Super Bowl? Nah.
The Super Bowl's streaming. You can stream the Super Bowl.
I mean, that's an extreme example.
It is.
But he knows nothing about sports. He worked out with a guy. He asked me. He says, yeah, I've been working out with this guy. And, guys, it's just really buff. And so I see him at the gym all the time. And so I get to talk to him. And he says, my friend says, he asked the guy, well, you look pretty buff. Did you play anything? Yeah, I played some football. Yeah.
Who's it going to be? It's going to be somebody famous.
Luke Staley. And no clue. I told him, I said, yeah, Luke Staley is really good, or was really good.
Yeah, his only problem was staying healthy.
And then last week, I got hooked up with some guy, real tall guy.
Oh, boy. Which basketball player? Was Memo up here playing?
McKelly Wesley.
Okay. Yeah,
I said, McKelly Wesley?
McKelly Wesley.
He was a star for BYU. This guy was a big-time player.
Oh, yeah.
That program, in large part, got over the hump from where it was when they were just awful because of guys like McKelly Wesley.
He single-handedly lifted them to relevance.
Yeah,
again.
McKelly Wesley's thinking I was born 20 years too early because I'm great Osobor. I could have gotten $2 million.
Yes, and
well, his
Wesley,
brothers Tika and Ty, the same thing.
And Wesley was a baller, and so
Ty Wesley was a hilarious interview. He still dropped the line I can't forget.
Yeah, what'd he say?
When he was talking about getting recruited by Stu Morrill, and Stu was charming. He's charming the moms and grandma and the aunts and whoever else and telling jokes. They got to practice, and he's like, well, where's the guy who recruited me?
Yeah, I've heard those stories.
Awesome.
So he comes back the next week. I see him. Hey, McKelly Wesley says to say hi to you, PK. I said, yeah, absolutely.
This is his whole world this guy doesn't know. He knows you and he knows McKelly, and he has no idea that you two are pretty high profile. Yeah. You both have people who love you. You both have people who hate you, and none of those people have ever met either one of you.
McKelly was a baller.
Yeah,
man. I love
and
ballers.
The Cougar fans loved him, and the U fans hated him.
I loved watching him play. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. But he just streams stuff.
Yeah, there's tons of content out there.
I mean, he would have no clue who you are.
And I think this fall, when you get more into ESPN Plus, I don't know that you have the time because there's so many games to watch, but you're going to find out how many sports documentaries they have stashed away there, and you're going to love it.
Not in the fall.
I know. There's so many games. There's so many games. There is that window, right, it's not so much so. I mean, the NBA and baseball are starting to come together, too. There aren't that many quiet weeknights.
No.
And now we're going to have hockey to watch.
Even more, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
But maybe some rando afternoon when it's raining, you'll click on one at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when there's nothing going on. You're just back from the gym and you're getting ready to eat lunch. You don't see anything on. You just click on some 30 for 30 and see if it catches your eye. And all these Peyton places, I haven't watched them all, but there were a couple times during the pandemic where they started putting them on, I don't know what they were on, ESPN News or ESPNU or something. And I turned them on just to watch them, and they were good. They were well done. They told stories, the evolution of the football so you could throw it. And there's some high school field, and Peyton's got some guy telling the stories, and Peyton's trying to throw the balls. It was hilarious. The visuals were, because it looked like a rugby ball. You couldn't get your hand around it to throw it. It had to almost be shot-putted. That was hilarious. You'll love that stuff. You'll get into it.
And the funny thing is about this NIL, if your team wins and wins at the high level, you ain't going to give a crap.
Ohio State fans will be all on board.
And it's going to be like for Ute fans here, right now they feel like their basketball program's in a bad spot. So all they want to talk about is football.
Mm-hmm.
And they're jacked for football. I mean, they should be jacked for football.
Yeah, football team looks like it's going to be really good again.
I don't know if they're going to go 13-0, but they should be jacked. But they don't want to talk about basketball. And then if the basketball got really good and was making NCAA runs, like, do the people in UConn, they really care about the NIL right now?
No, nor do they care. They don't care about that.
Money well spent.
They've won 2 titles in a row, right?
Don't they have 6 in like 25 years now?
Yeah,
correct.
3 different coaches.
All of their titles have come since 1999.
Yeah.
Calhoun, Ollie, and Hurley now.
I mean, they just get through college football. It's just something to do on a September afternoon, unless they check out completely on it. But it's all about
hoops. Don't tell it to Jim Mora Jr.
Yeah. I mean, let's see. Let's see where this goes. I don't think they're going to completely discount it, but it does seem like it's third back there behind the men's and women's hoops.
Yeah.
But the point being, if your team is winning, it's like, no big deal. Who cares? NIL, no sweat off my back. I mean, maybe you donate. I don't know. If I had a ton of money, would I donate? I could see myself doing it.
Really?
Yeah.
I can't.
If I had a lot of money,
you would have to have a lot of money.
Well,
if you had $1 billion, you would do it.
I'd wear my hat straight.
If you had $10 million, I don't think you would do it.
If I knew I had an opportunity to help a young man or woman.
If you had $10 million.
Not to win. I'm not talking about to win. I'm talking about education.
That's a different deal. You could scholarship somebody for $5 or $10,000. If you had $10 million, I totally believe you'd do that. But do I think you'd give Great Osobor $2 million if you had 10? No, I do not.
How about if Great Osobor was serious about getting a degree? Not to say that he is or isn't. I don't know. But my big
I think
thing,
you're way more likely to find some rando kid from the neighborhood that we've never heard of, and that even your buddy at the gym who doesn't recognize McKelly Wesley maybe hasn't heard of, but you like that kid. and you wanted to get that kid to Slick or to the U or whatever, would you write a $5 or $10 or $15,000 check if you had $10 million? In a heartbeat, you would. Some kid from Brighton or Jordan or wherever.
Right, but I'm probably not going to know about it. I'm not going to know the kid.
That's why you would do it.
The kid ain't going to live in my neighborhood. Let's call it like it is.
Wait a minute. Okay, so maybe I'm missing your point. I think you would help a kid who is struggling get to school. Do I think you would
but
help?
He ain't coming from my neighborhood.
Oh, there are kids in your neighborhood struggling. Not as many, but you know there are. You know their names. When you think about it, there's kids who've had traumatic family events.
Yeah, but I'm talking about financially.
And some of them, because of those traumatic events, need help.
Yeah, but that's not money-wise.
But at the same way, if you crossed, but Cottonwood, which isn't that far from your house.
Yeah, but I'm not going to know them. I'm not going to live in their neighborhood.
So you want to do some rando stranger?
No, I would say give it to the athletic department to give it to someone who is from a single family and whatever, but is serious about academics and is also a ball player, man or woman.
At a place like the U, I think all those people are getting money now. The U football program is big time, and there's NIL.
Right, and there's some kids that don't have as much as others. Those are the types. I've said, don't put a freaking sign in your yard. Tell me about how much money and how much time you're donating to help the people who need help. If you ain't doing either or both of those, I don't want to hear it. But if you do that, that's what I'm talking about.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Everything you missed in this show will get you up to speed next, including the NBA playoffs, the NFL schedule, and guess who's disappointing with college football? Think about that. You're not going to know unless you've already heard this story. And when I tell you, you're going to think, I should have figured that out. That's next.
Your home for Real Salt Lake is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Real Salt Lake, the Western Conference leaders, back in action Wednesday night. The Seattle Sounders are in town. The pregame show starts at 6:30. First kick at 7:30 here on The Zone.
Catch every moment of every RSL match right here on your exclusive home of Real Salt Lake. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Obviously not happy about it. Would rather stay at 8 or move up. But we're still, we've been studying the draft already for the 8th pick, and there's still a lot of players there that we like, and I think we'll still get a good player at 10, so not too worried about it.
9 a.m. Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. Find your new Mazda at the south end of the valley at Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown. That's Tim Dahle Mazda Southtown in Sandy. Darius Rucker, happy birthday. You're 58 today. Band of the Day brought to you by Live Nation. Darius Rucker, 58. And the Utah Jazz are 10th in the draft. Disappointed to move back 2 spots. But if they do their homework and they really like somebody and they think he's going to go a couple spots earlier, use some of those draft picks, maybe use one of those veterans on your roster and move up. Or sit where you are and get one of the good players that's still on the board. History says there'll still be a couple of all-stars and a couple more starters and a couple more rotation guys on the board. You just got to figure out who they are. You're not as lucky as Atlanta and Houston. It's funny, if you dumped more games, if you'd started tanking in the traditional time at the start of the season, you'd have a better draft slot.
That's the only time you can tank.
And if you hadn't accelerated the Tankapalooza at the end, you'd have been 9th or 10th, and the 9th or 10th spots were the ones that moved up this year. They were in exactly the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, and get a player. You don't know that.
You are in the draft.
This is all theoretical.
And there are players on the board.
You cannot make any definitive statements.
You could pick just as bad a player at 8 as you can pick at 10. If you pick the wrong player, you pick the wrong player.
Of course, I would have gone with the positive. You could pick just as good a player or better at 10 than you can at 8, 9, 5, whatever. And we can go down the list, man, of busts that have been top 5. Busts at number 1. What's his face? Kwame Brown. Decent player, but not number 1. And so,
who was the guy who completely washed out in Cleveland, I think?
Bennett.
Yeah. Out of UNLV, right?
Yeah.
Complete whiff.
Total.
Number one. Swinging a miss.
And then they won the thing again.
Yep.
So, yeah, right. Number one, and he didn't amount to jack squat. If you can't even be better than Jack Squat, who had no J whatsoever. All he could do is deep knee bends. That's why they call him Jack Squat. Right? His brother Diddley? He wasn't a player either.
Well, he wasn't quite as big. He had a smaller frame. Didn't have the wingspan.
So
Diddley didn't hit puberty, just didn't grow the same way.
Right. People don't know that he went by his middle name because his first name was Bo.
Wow, this keeps going and
Yeah,
going.
just let him go. Just free association
Bo
time.
Diddley Squat, Bo Diddley Tech. Wait, Brian Gumbel, BYU, 1984.
That brings us to college football. Who's disappointed with college football? Urban Meyer is.
Urban Meyer.
Disappointed in what NIL has become. It's cheating. It's an arms race.
And Urban knows about cheating.
He does. Let me tell you a thing or two. Here's what I learned. I got to Florida, and let me tell you about the SEC. To have a 17-year-old demand money for a visit, to pay these players a lot of money to go visit a charity for 20 minutes, and they write you a check for $50,000, that's cheating. It's not what this is all about. I'm very disappointed in where it went.
I think they should have to go at least 30 minutes. He's right.
Well, we have heard that. We were out on a remote once. We had a business owner saying, yeah, players walked in here and said, hey, how about a check? And I'm like, what do we get?
Well, they would show up, sign autographs and pictures and whatnot. Yeah, okay, but that's capitalism. I know you people, you're a little down on capitalism, but not me.
Yeah, I'm not down on capitalism, but nice try. Kansas City Chiefs are going to open the 2024 NFL season on September 5th. The Baltimore Ravens are coming to Arrowhead Stadium for the opener. Get things going on a Thursday. So the official schedule comes out Wednesday, so we're going to have all the networks get to leak one or two of their big games, a Thanksgiving or a Christmas or whatever. A couple more streaming games. That Friday game from Brazil is streaming only. The day after Thanksgiving is streaming only. Amazon gets a playoff game that's streaming only. Obviously, the Thursday night package went to streaming. So the NFL slowly tiptoeing towards the pile of cash that is streaming.
I watch the Thursday night game every Thursday.
Yeah.
And it would bother me if there was a college game that I wanted to watch. Because it's way more cumbersome to go back and forth.
So second screen? Put the college game up on the TV, or the jazz game, or the hockey game, whatever's going on.
Actually, depending on the quality of the game, I would see. Because I can't watch any college game, but I can watch any NFL game. So if it was Virginia against North Carolina State or Pittsburgh or something, I'm out.
You like to keep track of it, but you don't want to watch every snap.
Right, where I can watch any NFL game. I can check out. But at the same time,
I can't do any NFL game, but I can do most.
I can do any. If I got nothing else to do, I can watch any.
Two total dog teams.
Yeah, but this is the NFL. They may be dog today, but what about tomorrow?
Yeah, can't sit there and watch a couple of 4-10 teams play their 15th
The transition, they may be a dog, but it's not necessarily going to be rough in the transition for tomorrow. We've seen these teams just go from winner to loser to winner and winner to loser.
Somebody will do that every year. Worst to first to worst.
And a lot of these teams that stink have high draft choices, quarterbacks. I want to see how they do. But if it's, I guess now it would have to be a Big 12, but in the Pac-12, I could just watch any Pac-12 game anytime.
Yeah, I don't know if you can watch any Big 12 team. You're not going to.
Well, it depends.
West Virginia and UCF, if they're
on
playing,
the schedules.
if they're playing Utah and BYU the next week or two.
Or not just the next week,
but if they
on
played
the schedule.
If they played them a month ago?
Yeah, but now we got two teams. I don't know that both would have played a month ago. Yeah. And so now I got to have both teams. To me, it's sort of homework when I'm watching these games. And then this way, if she asks for some help with something, like bringing the groceries, I got to watch this game.
You got to watch the game.
Yeah. This is work for me. Do you want me to go down in the office? Do you want me to have a regular office job? Because I'll get a car and I'll drive down if that's what you want. I get her every time. 22 years. Take notes, Yak. You got a long way to go. I don't. By the time you be hitting your stride in this business, I'll be dead. So,
By the way,
the future is you.
did I ever tell you guys that last week marked my 10-year anniversary working with you two?
10 freaking years. I don't know
Where
how
has
you
the
put up with him
time
for that
gone?
long.
Great question.
Both of you.
I don't know how you put up with him for that long, man. Me?
Piece
Easy.
of cake. It was a treat.
Easy for me. My side of the aisle, no problem. Him? Come on.
All right, DJ and PK, that's what we've been talking about all morning long. Wherever you get your podcasts, download. You can listen to whatever you want. Steve Cleveland here was 8 o'clock, lamenting college basketball and how you build a team and the chemistry in the locker room. The positive side of all the NIL stuff, though, is I have read coaches saying that the transfer window is like speed dating. And so for the people who've been on their phones, the relentless hours recruiting high school kids, to go into the transfer portal saves a lot of time.
In what
Plays
way?
out much faster as opposed to years, 3-4 years recruiting a high school kid. You recruit a kid in the transfer portal much more quickly.
I can tell you an example.
It's not as quickly
is-
as a couple days. You still have to know the kid, his career, the arc and of his career and all that.
But you're sending texts to these guys saying, hey, I'm so-and-so from X university. Are you interested in talking further? They say yes or no. They say no, you're on to the next.
Right, but the point being the amount of time you spend, the application of it is different, but the amount of time is still the same.
It's compressed a bit.
I think it's compressed because they're not in the window. They're not in the transfer portal that long.
Yeah, but so then you're just going on to the high school kids then. If I have to recruit 8 hours a day, what difference does it mean how I do those 8 hours? I'm still doing it. I've heard 1,000 coaches. It's like shaving. If you don't do it every day, you're going to look scraggly. Blah, blah, blah. So I don't think that the format has changed, but the amount of time commitment I think is still the same. And the thing about it, it's universal. It's no different for you and no different for me, and we both work at different schools.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Your feedback is next.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
Be caller 12 right now, 801-575-ZONE. You'll be assigned a golfer in the PGA Championship field this week. If your assigned golfer wins, you'll win the same brand of driver that they play. It's brought to you by UNA Golf, simply the best golf stores in Utah since 1971. Yak, who have you given away so far? Kicking this off on a Monday morning. I know you can't say who we're about to give away.
Your guy Ludwig Aber has already been given away, and also, got to make sure it's Sahith Thagala. Those are the two we've given away so far.
All right, some big names still out there. Everybody wants Scotty Scheffler. Stand by for that.
Yeah, I don't know that I want him now.
He's already won one. He's not going to win two.
His wife just had birth. He's occupied.
He's distracted.
Yeah.
Let Bob take the number. Will Bob use the number one pick on him?
I want the number one pick this time. Forget it. It's about time we rotate.
Question of the morning. Jazz fall to 10th in the lottery. Reaction. WTF. What happened? Skip says, hey, as PK says, the NBA's entertainment. Jazz are not even close to being enjoyable the past 2 years, and at least through the draft, it looks like they'll be having their best players not even playing again after the All-Star break. For another year, making the product suck.
Jeez. What a doom and gloomer, man.
He is not getting his hopes up.
All right, I don't think they're going to make a long playoff run in 25. I'll grant you that. But let's see what they do first. I also don't understand the total doom and gloom with sports.
Every 3 years, it changes dramatically. Doesn't mean you can't stay down for a decade. Teams have.
If you have bad management.
Looking at you, Suns and Kings, recently.
Yeah,
Actually, the Spurs are in a pretty big run here, missing the playoffs.
Yeah, but somehow they seem to get a pass.
Yep. 5 titles will do that. And now they have Wemby. And they have the 4th and 8th picks this year, so they had to draft wisely, add a couple quality players.
And I think they got some bunch of picks next year. There's opportunities for them to trade for vets because they have picks to give.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at you, maybe somebody from Finland. Not naming names.
Not naming names. But you have somebody in mind.
Played a year at Arizona. What's his face?
I need another hint. Already played for 3 teams.
White.
In the Western Conference.
Let's see. If you want an opportunity to get the Cooper flag, dude.
Everybody does, don't they?
Oh, he's LeBron too, isn't he?
Chuck, another lottery, another Jazz disappointment. I feel more sorry for Detroit, though. NBA lottery's a joke.
Why?
He doesn't say why. Because he didn't get what he wants for his team.
You know, they want a perfect system, but it's never going to be accomplished. Yep. I give them credit for trying, but it just doesn't seem to work to the level that they want it to work.
The flaw in the game is the one player is so important that it's worth it to lose. And you can try to minimize the tanking, try to stop the tanking, try to slow the tanking. But teams are going to say, if we can't win it all, let's get really bad because that one player can transform us for a decade.
Well, you look at it, and, you know, we say basketball, and it's the one player. Mm-hmm. But you look at what's going on in other sports. You look at what baseball, the Astros sucked for years. Uh-huh. And then they got good, and maybe they need to retool now.
Kansas City took the elevator down, took the elevator back up.
Look at the Baltimore Orioles right now.
They were down, and now they're up.
And they've made some excellent draft choices, and they're really good now. And
they're a good team in a super competitive division.
Yes. I think they're really good.
There's no way to backdoor that with the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Jays and the Rays.
They can win that division, and no one's going to be surprised.
They're in first place now.
Right. And
we're almost 40 games in. It's almost a quarter of a season.
Endured the losing.
A solid 5 years.
And
maybe
now,
more.
If you do your work right, this is the way. That's the good thing about the system is if you do what you're supposed to do, you can get yourself out. So it's not perpetual.
It's a little harder in baseball because you have to hit on so many picks over so many years. Whereas you need the lightning in a bottle.
Well, yeah,
in the
but
NBA.
but you have way more opportunities to hit on guys, not just 2 rounds and a handful of free agents. So it sort of flushes out a little. There's a little bit of a wash there. You know, if you get a guy in the 4th round, he has an opportunity to be really good.
The Orioles missed the postseason for 6 years going through this latest rebuild.
And now they're good.
Mm-hmm. And 6 is a long time. In the NBA right now, you got Detroit and San Antonio have missed 5 times, and Charlotte's missed 8.
And there's no reason why Charlotte should be that bad.
Nope. Rockets are at 4. So there's 4 teams that have missed 4 seasons or more.
And what are we at, 2?
2. Yep. 14 teams missing every year.
Yeah. And it is exasperated a little bit in the NBA because so many teams make the playoff, and now with the play-in, you're even adding more.
Play-in is like the in-season tournament. In the moment it matters, but to me it doesn't really. It doesn't mean I won't watch it.
Yeah, but
it doesn't mean I won't.
Why would you say that?
Because it's not the playoffs.
Except the Lakers got to the conference final via the play-in.
Yep.
Okay, that is the playoffs.
But they would have been in. Oh, wait, right. If you win and you get in the playoffs, then it works. But most of the teams, I mean, you're 10. You're not likely. You're just not going to win 2 road games.
Okay, but I get that. But I don't care about that. I care about balling out where we're not. I got a hangnail, so I'm sitting out.
And that's why
you don't get that in the play-in.
You get guys going hard in the play-in.
That's what I'm talking about.
And
yes.
I like it in the moment. But to me, it's not any sign of success for the club.
Well, what is a sign of success for the club?
Not the in-season tournament. Although
I didn't ask
watch
what
it because guys will
I
play
asked
hard.
what is.
Getting in the playoffs and then winning and advancing.
To what level?
Well,
1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds?
It depends on the team. I mean, I was impressed at Orlando in their first game or first playoff series after years down, win 7. Now, next year, you're going to want them to win. I mean, for Boston, right now, success is hoisting the trophy. You've been close. You've been to the finals. You've been to 5 conference finals.
So if they lose in the final game 7, that's a failure.
It'll be disappointing.
That's a failure of a season.
You're right. Game 7 will be hard to say a failure, but it'll be a major disappointment because you're Boston and you've been so close.
If I go out and shoot a triple bogey on hole 4 today, that's going to be a disappointment.
Oh, I know that.
But if I shoot a 73, so what? We got to go.
What's a
I said we got to go, Yaki. Ain't going to go.
All right, we'll pick this up tomorrow. Jake and Better next on The Zone.